Howdy, it's Murray here from MUZBOZ Games, and I'm here to talk to you about my game I'm getting started on called Secret Keep. This is kind of kicking off the start of my proper dev videos for the game. So I wanted to talk about my inspirations, such as Thief 2 is probably one of the biggest ones, the sort of stealthy, sneaking around a medieval castle vibe. And another one would probably be stuff like the old King's Quest games, like King's Quest 3 in particular, which I really like that game because it's sort of set on this little house on top of a hill, and you're sort of a kid there, like a slave to this evil wizard Manannan who controls what you do. He's very bossy and you get in trouble for doing stuff. But based on a sort of a timeline of events, he will leave and go on a trip for a while and then come back, and it sort of all happens no matter what you're doing. So you take advantage of the timing of the story to go and rifle around the house or grab ingredients or get access to his magic room. So I really love that tension. It sort of feels like being dropped into a story that's unfolding on its own. So I want to capture that sort of a vibe. It's a little bit like I hear about this Sleep No More play in New York, where it's over multiple stories in a building, and the participants or the audience go in with masks on and can wander around the space, seeing whatever actors they want and whatever scenes they want moving through the world that way. And you can even rifle around through props and look at stuff. So it's got a bit of the interactivity of games, but not nearly as much. You can't change the path of the story or anything like that. My goal is to build a game that's sort of set in a fairly, some sort of a castle or a keep, and block it all out and make it so that you can really feel like you're sort of there, exploring, living in this space, and finding deeper access into different parts of the story, different parts of the actual castle itself. It's a little bit inspired as well by Robin Hobb's books, The Assassin's Apprentice, the Farseer books, where similarly you're in this place called Buckkeep, and you start off young and you get older, or I say you, but the character, the hero of the story, and they're like spying, and they sort of learn different. They learn some magic, they learn to be a spy, they learn to work for the royal family. But you're spending a lot of your time learning about relationships, characters. You sort of observe. It's very rich with detail. I personally got a bit sick of reading fantasy books as a teenager that were sort of all just repeats of a sort of heroic mission, describing the scenery, going on big quests, getting into battles. It's like that stuff's exciting, but it gets a little tired, I suppose. And Robin Hobb's books seem to manage to have a lot of those elements that are exciting fantasy, medieval type of world, but it focuses more in on these relationships and learning about the intrigue and the character interplay, feelings, and stuff like this. So I would like to capture some of that in the world by making it a smaller, more intimate space to explore, and you learn more about the characters. You're sort of eavesdropping or actually interacting with different people, and the idea of the story, I think, is that there would be multiple factions, and it might take place sort of only over one day or a few days, leading up to, say, a wedding or a festival or something. I'm still working this stuff out, and that if you don't do anything, the NPCs, the non-player characters, the actors in the game, will go about trying to achieve their goals. And if you don't do anything, then bad results might end up happening overall. So you want to either intervene, or even whether it's in the same playthrough or another playthrough, I'm not sure yet, you'll go, oh, I need to stop that from happening. So what do I need to find out? What do I need to do to foil that plan, to stop that happening? And then by doing so, some other events, there's room for other events to take place. So it's sort of a process of you shaping different trajectories for the story. So that's sort of the main idea for the game. So I've been sort of sketching out a bunch of, I've been sort of playing around with just what are the sorts of elements in the game, and I've sort of also been experimenting with this sort of simple color palette, like a bit like an EGA 16 color sort of a vibe. I've actually got this watercolor set that's just like a little travel set with only 12 colors in it. and I was thinking it would be cool to make all of the art just with a sort of a limited palette, sort of a low fidelity, possibly sort of low poly, kind of naive type of an art style, a bit like a fairy tale or a cartoon or something. I've sort of just been playing around with like what are the sorts of objects and elements that I could have in the game. This was a little sort of a study I did while watching The Sword in the Stone, a Disney cartoon from 1963, which plays on this sort of fairy tale coming of age type of notion, which will probably play a part in my story. But yeah, I like this sort of bold, simple color palettes, rich colors, sort of evocative of fairy tale books and things. And I guess King's Quest played a lot on this fairy tale sort of angle as well. Here's a little mansion concept that I drew. So yeah, I'm still figuring out all the details for the story and the systems, and I really am at the point where I'm going to launch into building an actual space and testing it with gameplay and characters in there. So yeah, what I'm planning to cover in the dev videos overall is talking about the intentions of the game, where it came from, in a way like it came from playing games like Thief and Thief 2, which Thief 2 was sort of my list of, like, it would be the game that I would say is my favorite game for many years, probably from like 1999 or 2000 when it came out, through to, you know, now even. But the game has its flaws as well and stuff, but there's things that I love about the richness of the world, the guards, and the fact that they make you tense, but they're also kind of funny and lovable in a way. They're almost cartoonish. Just the richness of the sound environment, and the way that sound plays such an important role in the game, the way that it propagates around the world, and that the guards are aware of sound, and you're very aware of sound you're making and sounds you can hear. I think that's really cool. And I made a Thief 2 mission called Lady Lomat's Flute, where you have to break into a mansion and find the flute and steal it. In about 2001 I made that, and I touched it up again in about 2014 when some more patches for Thief and the editor came out. And that was just so much fun making that even for the whole 20 years since then, really I've been wanting to make my own type of game in that type of world. So I'm like a game designer traditionally by trade, but I've been learning more and more about programming, C# and Unity, and building AIs and doing stuff like this. So I think I've got enough skills now to bring together to make this game. So I'll be looking at myself making some art, making some code, working on the AIs, maybe doing voice acting for the characters, possibly just myself doing placeholder voices to begin with, but maybe also working with some proper actors on the proper characters and stuff. Also working on the music, which I think I'm going to tackle with my guitar and my Roland GR20 synthesizer pickup and synthesizer module, which means you can play the guitar and it turns the guitar sounds into flutes and cellos and saxophones and whatever. Probably won't be saxophones in this particular score, but I want to go for a sort of a 60s 70s prog rock concept album, sort of symphonic but a bit proggy sort of soundtrack for it. That's a really evocative type of music that's, you know, largely kind of medieval fantasy music, but with a bit of 60s 70s sort of tape delays and stuff mixed in. I guess just talking about the design, maybe do some videos of me just building the level space. Oh yeah, I'll probably also do a bit of a video where I look through a bunch of my notebooks, some of them sort of more recent, like these ones. I don't know if you can see that. Some of them more recent, just thinking about like ideas for games over the years, and some of them much older, like even 20-plus-year-old books that I feel like a lot of the same stuff wants to come through in this game, and I've never used it yet, so it could be interesting to look through there just to think of sort of how long these ideas percolate sometimes. Here's a little sketchbook of various sort of things that could be nice ingredients, like a crossbow kind of a guy, like the guards, or whether you have that. Some books that you can open up and have a look in, maybe a compass that you need to get around and find certain things, maybe especially if you've got a map or you've been given clues of like go north 20 paces and east 20 paces and turn around or something, you know. Maybe a little sort of a portal magic thing at some point, a little bit like the Narnia wardrobe, but in some other fashion. Torches, lighting torches in the darkness, or guards carrying torches around. Maybe something to do with sort of birds and different animals. Diamond paned windows are nice. Flags and cloth simulation, gems and crystals could maybe have a place in here. I like the idea of integrating sort of some of the realistic kind of grounded medieval sort of setting and concepts, but mixing it in with some sense of maybe the paranormal or horror or some sort of occult or things that make it a little more dark and scary and fantasy-like. I guess that's what's cool about sort of fairy tales, is that they're sort of familiar and grounded. You know, this character is in this situation and they're trying, these are their hopes and dreams, but then there's, you know, some sort of a supernatural or magical element that comes in, but at the end of the day the story is still about the normal feelings of this character and their dreams. It's sort of just in a dreamlike setting. It's sort of surrealism, I suppose. So yeah, hopefully sort of go along with for the whole journey, sort of showing how it's come together and the process for making it, which I'm hoping will be really fun and interesting for me, and sort of brings together a lot of skills and things that I like to do, like the music and coding and art and stuff. And yeah, hopefully sort of get a glimpse of how this whole game comes together, and the thinking behind the design of it, the thinking behind the story of it, the creative process of it. So yeah, I hope you'll join me for some more videos in the future.